Hi guys, today we're going to start taking a look at a new concept here in class. So far up to this point, we've only been working with one view controller. So all our apps, whether it's a tip calculator or multiply, they've all had one view on there. So you open up the app and everything was on that one view controller. So the goal today is to show you how you can add a second view controller to a project and how you can connect the two view controllers so a user can click a button and move on to a new view controller. All right, so we'll start basic with that to see how that works, and gradually we'll add more to it and start passing some information back and forth. But let's just start small here and figure out how we can make an app with more than one view controller. All right, so let's go ahead and open Xcode up here. Let's start a new Xcode project. All right, we'll start. So we're going to still be in single view application, but again, we'll add to it and we'll have more. We'll have a couple single views, I guess, is a way to look at it. So let's click on next. We'll go ahead and call this storyboard practice. Okay. Actually, you know what? Let's change that here. Let's call this segue practice. And that'll make more sense in a moment here. So let's go ahead and create segue practice. All right, as always, click on next. Find a good place to save that file, and let's get to it here. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and make my screen a little larger here. So let's go to our storyboard. All right, so give this a second to load up here for us. All right. So as you can see, sometimes going to the storyboard creates some nice slow problems here. But we'll be patient here and bear with this as it loads. There we go. All right, so here we go. So as always, again, this should look familiar. We've got our storyboard. All right, and as we've been working with in the past, we know that our storyboard. All right, just taking a second to get up and running here this afternoon for whatever reason. So I apologize for the delay here, but trust me, we'll be able to get going here as it processes the files. Okay, so as we know, all right, so this storyboard is associated with this view controller. All right, so again, that's indicated in our class line right here that view controller is the class name, and then it's a subclass of UI view controller. Okay, so we'll get into a little more of that in a moment here, but that's the connection. All right, so again, we know that these two are connected. View controller.swift is hooked up to our main storyboard, and we know that. Again, we've been working with that throughout the semester. So now the goal is, let's get another view controller out here and let's connect that. But before we do that, I want to just introduce a new concept to you here. And also, before we get going, another great way to check here. So right now I'm on my attributes inspector. If I go ahead and choose the identity inspector, you'll see here that for this storyboard, all right, this view controller right here, this view controller on our storyboard, it's of the class view controller. Okay, so that'll make more sense in a moment here, but that's where you can set the different classes to essentially inherit properties from. Okay, but before we do that, let's talk about something that's a good thing to put on your apps, and that's a navigation controller. So basically, if we're going to have more than one view on our app, we have to have some navigation in place for the user to be able to get back and forth there. We don't want them to go to one screen and get stuck there. We want them to be able to navigate back and forth. So we're going to put our view controller inside a navigation controller. So what we're going to go to do here is we're going to go to the top of our screen. All right, we're going to go to the editor menu. Okay, we're going to choose embed in, and we're going to choose a navigation controller. So what happens here? All right, so let me scroll over so you can see that, is they embed our view controller in this navigation controller. And you can see a relationship is made up here by this little symbol right here. Okay, so now when I click on, and nothing's going to work in terms of over in the attributes inspector, but we do have this embedded, so you can see it gives a little navigation bar on the top of our app here, which again, we'll format that. Basically, that is telling us that we are now inside a navigation controller. You won't do anything on this. All right, we'll still work on our view controller here, okay? But at this point, if we were to run the app, all right, so let's go ahead and just show you what this will look like. Okay, and again, we'll see how long this takes here. Sometimes this is a process. All right, you know what? We'll come back and check that. And oh, there it goes. I think it sensed that I was going to stop running it, and it picked up the speed here. So here's our simulator. All right, loading up as very deliberately as always here. Okay, so what we're going to do here, I'm going to stop this from running for right now, just because I don't, that's being a little frustrating at the moment here. So let's bring Xcode back up here. Okay, so now we'll show you the navigation bar in a running app, but let's add some more to it. So we're going to bring a new view controller onto our storyboard here. So what you need to do is you got to come down to our object library, and it's already presented here, but again, if it was not there, you could do a search for view controller. All right, and here it is. We want to bring this out. So just drag that onto your desktop. Oh, just got to be careful where you put that. If you try to put it in the view controller, it won't allow you to do it. But I want you to go ahead and put it right next. So put it to the right of your current view controller. So you can see there's your view controller. Okay, so it's blank, nothing happening right now. All right, but basically our goal is we want to be able to connect this view controller to the new one. Okay, so that's going to be the project we need to do. So before we do anything though, we're going to do something we haven't done before right now. We're going to create a new Swift file. All right, so what I mean by that is we've got viewcontroller.swift. That connects to this one. We want to create a new Swift file that connects to our new view controller. So let's go ahead and do that. So go ahead and hit the Command and N buttons on your keyboard. Okay, so we're going to have a nice little menu here, and we're going to be working with iOS because that's what we've been doing all semester here, and with Source. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to bring in a Cocoa Touch class file here. So basically this is, brings in some frameworks and properties that we can use. All right, so that, basically it's just inherits some properties that we can put into our view controller. So go ahead and make sure it's source, Cocoa Touch class, next. All right, now the class, again, so this is the name of the new file. Okay, so we're going to just call this new view controller. And now it's going to subclass, again, we want this, make sure this says UI view controller. So basically this is saying that new view controller is a subclass of UI view controller. So it will have all the capabilities, frameworks, and everything that UI view controller offers. Okay, make sure it says Swift here, click on next. We want to make sure that this is in our practice. All right, so make sure your screen has Segue practice up here, and it's in that group. Create that, and then you'll see we get our new file. Okay, so by default, it just takes you into the file here. Let's go back to the storyboard. So at this point, though, nothing's set up yet here. All right, but we need to connect our view controller to its class. So we're going to go to the inspector. All right, the identity inspector. All right, we're going to start typing in new. Oh, I spelled that wrong here. New view controller, and you can see that it auto completes for us. Hit enter. All right, so now when I click off here, this is view controller. This one is new view controller, so that's the class. And once again, you can check that when I click on new view controller. Here's my class name right here. Okay, so now we're all ready to go here. All right, so let's get some segues happening. So a segue is just a term for, maybe you've heard it, we're going to segue to a new topic. Segue, we're going to go to a new view controller. Okay, so what we're going to do right now, all right, is we're going to go ahead, let's just take a button. All right, let's just drag that onto our first view controller. All right, just put that towards the left there. Let's change the text to second VC, so second view controller. All right, so we want this button to take us from this view controller to that one when we press it. So that's where we need to create our segue. So what we're going to do is we're going to control and drag from the button over to view controller number 2, and we're going to let go. And we get some action or some options here. All right, so we're going to be looking at the action segue, and we're going to choose the option to show. All right, so go ahead and click on show, and you'll see a little arrow shoots up here telling us that we've established our connection here. So we do have a connection in place here. All right, so the next thing I'm going to have you do is click on that little arrow. All right, you'll see it turns it blue. Also highlights your button, telling you that this segue is connected to that button. All right, go ahead and click on the Attributes Inspector, and let's go ahead and just give this a name of, we'll just call it Segue. We'll just keep it simple, we'll call that Segue. That'll be our identifier for right now, okay? So that's important to do, so when your code, we'll get to that in a moment, just the identifier helps you to determine, you kind of will help you, give you the ability to determine different outcomes, based on different, if statements and things like that, okay? So, so here's what we'll do, all right? So now, all right, so let's go ahead and if we build our app right now, all right, hopefully we can build this a little quicker this time so you can see this. right, so this is coming up here, but it's such an so much action happening. I guess it just takes a little longer to load up here. And if you're watching this at home here, feel free to fast forward right now because nothing great's going to happen. There we go. There's our main screen. Okay, so there's our launch screen there. We're ready to go almost here. It's getting closer. Drum roll, please. All right, really taking the time. So again, if you stop fast forwarding, you can fast forward a little more here. Unless you like the sound of nothing happening right now. All right, so why don't we put that off to the side here. All right. All right, well, I'd really like to show you what's happening right now, just so you can see what the screens look like and how the navigation bar looks, and how it gives you a built-in back feature, so you can just go back to where you came from and go back and forth. But okay, so look at that slow fade in. All right, so as you can see, we've got our navigation bar up top here. We'll add a title to this because that doesn't look very good, but here's our button. Okay, so if I were to press on my button right now, okay, it's going to take me to my next view controller. It normally does not take that slow of a transition. I think it's just a simulator. So we've got our blank view controller, but here's the built-in back button that comes with our navigation bar. So when I click back, it takes me back to my main screen. Okay, so what you've done at this point here is you've created a basic app that gives you the ability to go from one view controller to the next. Okay, so now what we can do, go ahead and just quit the simulator. All right, is if you really want to take a look at just to make sure you're kind of looking at different things, we can change our background colors. If I were to change this one to green, all right, I'll change this one to blue. Okay, just so you can see the difference here. Now let me run the simulator again to hopefully show this a little more progress here. But just sometimes if you want to just make sure that it is a different view controller and it's not the same one here, you can throw a couple colors on there. But while this is loading up and building, so again, what we've done with this this simple app, we built a new app with a single view controller. Okay, so then as this loads up here, I'll kind of talk us through. So then we once we had our view controller on the screen, we went through and we embedded it in a navigation controller to give it the navigation bar feature here. We added a new view controller to our app by dragging from down here, by going Command N and choosing, so again, Command N, and then choosing Source, Cocoa Touch Class. I'm going to cancel because I don't need to. And then once we did that, okay, let me go back here. All right, once we made our new class, we went through our identity inspector and hooked up our new view controller to its class, new view controller. Then we added a button to our first view controller. We control dragged to our new view controller and then we chose our segue, which is right here. All right, so if you recall, we chose a show, also known as a push segue. We gave it the identifier of segue, which has given us the ability to go from one screen to the next. Okay, so before we leave, I would like to show you the working app here with the two different screens. Again, I appreciate you bearing with the delay on our simulator here. It's I know it's frustrating probably to watch. You can only imagine here, but again at this point I'm not going to cover anything new. But so here we go. So here's our opening screen. It's green. I click on second, takes me to the blue screen. So there you can see that we have essentially created an app that has two different screens. The color just verifies things. So I'm going to go ahead and stop it at this point here. We'll add more to this here. We'll kind of build off of this app. So just keep this one on your desktop so we can have access to it next time we get going. But thanks again for watching here. But again, that's a simple segue from one view controller to the next. Thanks for watching. And